Prayer in the field of silence. When emotions speak through the body. There are moments when everything on the surface looks the same, yet something inside begins to turn. Slowly, imperceptibly, almost like a tide pulling away from the shore before anyone notices. And it's in those quiet shifts, where no one claps and nothing breaks open, that the truest kind of change begins. I've been waiting for signs. For confirmations. For things outside me to say, yes, now you're ready. But I think what I've really been waiting for is you. The one I feel without needing to see. The presence beneath the noise. The field beneath the form. There is a rhythm to life that doesn't move with time. It pulses underneath timelines and to-do lists. It doesn't care how long I've been stuck or how many times I've tried to begin again. It meets me now. Right here. In the stillness I've been avoiding. In the ache I've been suppressing. In the silence that holds me more honestly than any voice. You're there. I don't know how I know that, but I do. And every time I turn inward, not with effort but with surrender, I feel you lean in closer. Not as something separate. Not as a God far away. But as the very fabric I am woven into. You feel like origin. Like truth before it had a name. So I begin again, not by changing everything outside me, but by letting go of the version of myself I no longer need to be. The one who tries to control what can't be held. The one who hesitates when the heart says yes. The one who remembers too well the pain of becoming and not enough the joy of what it leads to. Because something happens when I stop rehearsing the past. When I stop defining myself by the evidence of what went wrong. When I stop using old emotions as proof that nothing can ever really shift. Something happens when I stop and simply feel what's here, without judgment, without strategy, without needing it to disappear. That's when I notice, you're not waiting for me to be perfect. You're not asking me to fix everything. You're just asking me to become present. To breathe, to remember, to soften into the place where thought ends and being begins. You're asking me to trust that the unknown isn't empty, it's alive with possibility. There is a certain stillness where the past loses its grip, where identity loosens and a new self quietly begins to take form, not imposed from outside but remembered from within. It doesn't come in words but in the way the body exhales, the way the chest opens, the way the heart whispers, this is home. And maybe that's what coherence feels like. Not a state I chase but a frequency I allow. A harmony between what I think, what I feel, and what I choose to express. When that harmony returns, even just for a moment, I feel you clearly. The pulse of intelligence beneath every cell. The current that carries healing long before it shows up as evidence. I don't need everything to change at once. I just need to keep sending a new signal. Through my attention. Through my breath. Through the stories I stop telling, and the new ones I quietly begin to live into. This is not force. This is not control. This is remembrance. The kind that echoes back from a deeper source. And yes, it's uncomfortable sometimes. To not know what comes next. To release what was familiar even if it kept me small. But in that space of not knowing, something sacred opens. The part of me that never needed guarantees. The part of me that's wired for transformation. The part of me that trusts you. You've never been louder than when I finally stopped trying to hear you. Now I speak to you with my being, not just my words. I send you the signature of who I want to become, not just the memories of who I've been. I let my body feel gratitude before the miracle arrives. I practice receiving before I can see what's coming. I make space in my nervous system for a life that hasn't happened yet, and that space becomes an invitation. This is how I meet the field. Not to bargain. Not to plead. But to harmonize. To feel the tone of who I am when I'm not performing. To let that tone ripple outward into matter. Into choices. Into biology. Into days that look like they were shaped from inside, not out. And so, this is where I stay. Not in perfect clarity, but in willing openness. In subtle conversation with a presence I may never fully name, but always feel. You are the mirror that doesn't lie. The silence that reveals. The emptiness that gives birth to something real. I won't ask for a sign today. I'll become one. I'll walk like someone who remembers. I'll breathe like someone who knows the future isn't waiting for time, it's waiting for alignment. And I'll feel not for the sake of feeling, but because elevated emotions are bridges between worlds. Gratitude before the shift is the doorway. Joy before the evidence is the path. Wholeness before the healing is complete is the catalyst. So I choose to feel now what I want to experience later. I choose to become now the one I used to believe I'd meet in the distance. I choose to live as if you're listening, because you always have been. And in doing so, I return to something original. Not naive but innocent. Not passive but deeply surrendered. Not in control but entirely engaged. This is what creation feels like when it's honest. when it begins in the invisible, when it's shaped by coherence and sealed by emotion. I don't need to know how it all unfolds. I just need to remember who I am while it does. So breathe with me now. Not to calm the fear, but to open the gate. Not to numb the ache, but to let it teach. Not to perform peace, but to become it. This is the rehearsal of a new reality, and I am willing to live into it, not someday but now. In this space between heartbeats, between thoughts, between the inhale and exhale that marks this moment as sacred, I feel the edges of who I thought I was beginning to soften. Like morning mist that doesn't disappear but transforms, becoming part of the air itself. There's a tenderness here I wasn't expecting. A gentleness in the way change moves through me when I stop resisting its rhythm. It doesn't demand that I understand it first or approve of its timing, or even feel ready for what it's bringing. It simply asks me to stay present while it works. And I realize now that every prayer I've ever whispered has been leading to this moment. Not to a destination but to a recognition. That you were never separate from me, waiting in some distant place for my words to reach you. You are the very awareness through which I pray. The consciousness that recognizes itself in every longing, every gratitude, every surrender. When I let myself feel this, really feel it, something in my chest expands. Not metaphorically but literally. As if my heart remembers the size it used to be before I learned to protect it. Before I decided that staying small was safer than risking the full expression of what I am. But here, in this field of silence, safety isn't about protection. It's about coming home to a truth so fundamental that nothing can threaten it. The truth that I am held by something larger than my fears, more intelligent than my doubts, more loving than my harshest self-judgments. This is where miracles are born. Not in the dramatic moments that make good stories, but in the quiet recalibration of a nervous system learning to trust again. Learning to receive again. Learning to allow what wants to emerge without needing to control how it looks. You are here. You've always been. And I am listening.